Welcome, everybody, to episode 4 of the Sports Stooges podcast. I am your host, Sports Guy Jason. And this week, I'm being joined by super producer Tyler Allen, who's also part of the Anomolies podcast. Thanks for joining me this week.
Thanks, bud. I'm going to add my applause. Check it. Go me. Go me.
Love it. I don't even know if any of my soundboard keys work anymore.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. So, must not be. I'll have to fix that.
I love my trigger pad. Makes producing the show way easier.
I'll have to re-download all the audio because everything I had was on my old. Well, I might still have it on my MacBook Air. But anyways, we were going to try and do this last Thursday. Kind of had something pop up that threw my schedule off. So sorry, everybody didn't get episode last Thursday. Like I said, for now, the goal is going to be every other Thursday. And then I'm bouncing around some ideas on how to make this weekly, but do it differently. But we'll get to that another day. Not a lot of sports to talk this week, is there? We're kind of coming off one of the dead weeks. It's not quite as bad as Baseball All-Star Week, where there's literally nothing to talk about, but it's close.
Pretty close, yeah. At least, you don't get like last week where the biggest controversy was, did you like the halftime show? Or should have Matthew Stafford come to that lady's aid who fell off the stage during the parade ceremony?
It's like the answer is no for that one, because he was, he was at that point Tom Brady level drunk. So there's absolutely zero chance that he was going to.
He was shit-faced. The lady had zero self-awareness.
Right. Like, it's not his fault she couldn't figure out where the end of the stage was. And again, he was just not going to be able to help her out. Like, I feel bad for him. He takes such a beating. And then, of course, the world that it is today, everybody has to dig 10 years into her background and start tearing into her. And, that's not to say good, bad, or otherwise about what she said, but what's that got to do with her falling off the stage? Like, exactly. Do we really need to be that as people anymore? Like, I feel like we're.
And then you got the distraught Detroit fans who think they still won a Super Bowl because their guy won a Super Bowl, that are mentally sick and putting out Detroit Rams gear. They're like, come the fuck on. He laughed.
I'm a Cubs fan, lifelong. We had some awful years in there. Could have never thought, I was glad to see guys do well when they left, but I did never put on a Chicago Diamondbacks, jersey when Mark Grace finally won a World Series with Arizona. Not going to happen.
Like, you don't see me rocking. Like, I'm a Red Sox fan. Like when Mookie went to the Dodgers, you don't see me rocking Dodger gear all because Mookie's there.
Like, and I get it. There are some people who are, fans of players as opposed to teams, and I get that exists. But how hard is it to just be loyal? Man, I could never.
But that's upper level, like, mental sickness. Like, I know I'm mentally sick, but when you're pining somebody and making Detroit Rams gear and celebrating the fact that your guy won, that's upper level sickness.
No, for sure. 100%. It's and I guess it's Stockholm syndrome when you've been that bad that long, almost. But again, I couldn't, even at the worst of the Cubs, I could have never have like taken it as almost our championship when one of the guys left and did Greg Maddux to the Braves. Like, there's no way I'm rooting for the Braves in that situation. Sorry.
Right.
That was our guy. We did the work developing him. We should be benefiting from this. We shouldn't be getting buried. But no, not a chance. I mean, Super Bowl was entertaining, since I haven't had a chance to talk about that, lost pretty much every bet I had on the Super Bowl other than the coin toss. I did win that.
I picked the score, but apparently two of the contests I really wanted to enter, granted they were on TikTok, I literally guessed the score, 23-20 Rams.
Nice.
because I was a big Mad Dog listener, and he was pining. He's all like, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be like a 17-20, 23-20 type of game. And I was like, oh, I'm honing in on that. It's going to be 23-20. So I entered it in. Apparently, I didn't enter it in on the wrong TikTok, but I was literally pointing it out to people going like, this is the fucking final score. I was
It's like, this is it. Check it out. Like I told you.
And it's like I did it 3 days before the fucking TikTok went up anyway.
And you guys don't have sports gambling in Nebraska. You're in Nebraska, right?
Correct.
And you guys don't have sports gambling yet, do you?
No, but like it's kind of like at this weird spot because casinos are gonna start making income or gonna start coming here, but they have to be attached to horse racing tracks. And we've got a few of those. So, like, allegedly, there might be a push to make some sort of sports betting legal, not over the app, but it's like the bit where you have to go into the casino and place it at a book. But most of the betting I do, I usually go into Council Bluffs because, like, Council Bluffs is like the only literal casinos in Iowa. So,
yeah, that's it. Indiana surprises me still, by the way, that we were one of the first states with online sports betting. Because it took to like 5 years ago when we had the Super Bowl for us to be able to buy beer on Sundays. So it's like we were so far behind on that, and I don't know how we got ahead of sports gambling, but that started. We had the river boats, and then you had to go to in-person casino, and then like 6 months later they rolled out the online.
Yeah,
so
allegedly the university is going to make a push because they sent out a survey asking people is like, how important is checking your sports bets while you're at the game? And I'm like, that'd be very important. Like, I would like to place, like, if I'm at the game and it's 11 o'clock slate, I'd like to place other 11 o'clock game bets.
Right.
Like, hell yeah.
And again, the states are just seeing huge tax revenue benefits from it.
He hit the back button again. So it's my show. Go me.
Moving all of my devices away from me at the moment. Luckily, like I said, nobody ever watches live anyways, really. So that way I don't have to worry about anybody be like, where'd it go? I'm just moving all my devices away. Can't touch anything anymore. But yeah, it's nice. Like I've gone to Illinois during the games, and I haven't had a chance to go to a casino because in Illinois you have to physically go to a casino to be verified as who you are before you can place a bet online. It's like, this is awful. Like I just had to take a picture with my ID, in Indiana. They're like, here you go. Yeah, sure, go nuts. You know your social security number, gamble.
The times I went, like I could, because like they have FanDuel and they have Caesars out there and like a few other ones. The Barstool book wasn't out there yet, but like I literally just went to the book and just like literally placed the bet out there. But apparently you just have to be geotagged in Iowa. So
yeah, that's all Indiana is. Basically, upload your ID, give us the last four of your social security number, and be in the state, and you're fine. And I did finally, like, I used the Super Bowl as an excuse to use the free promos from BetMGM and Barstool, which didn't work out well for either of them because BetMGM gives you 50. They gave you four. All you had to do was bet $10, win or lose. You get 4 free $50 bets. So, like, cool. And now if you use FanDuel, when you get the free bet, you get to keep the bet money as well if you win. So, like, if you had a $50 and you win, so like the first bet I placed with BetMGM was like on the Bucks minus 1,000. Figure, okay, I'll win $5, but I'll take my 50 with me and go. And they're like, no, you don't get that. You just get the 5. So I was like, all right. I took the other 3 and placed them on NBA long shots. Just boom, boom, boom. Oh, guess what? Pistons beat the Celtics plus 600. Here's your $300. Like, see, would have been cheaper for you. Just let me take the 200 and run.
The only bets I placed this year were for the Nebraska-Michigan State game, and then I placed a futures bet when I first started at the data center, and it was for the now Washington Commanders to win the NFC East, and that would have then be like 15 thou.
Oh, that'd have been nice.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a long-standing bet because I think I'm going to keep doing that. It's like a traditional thing.
I think I'm going to do. Yeah, I haven't done any futures yet, but I think this will be the year where I start betting division winners in football and things like that are a little more lucrative, but just take longer to pay out.
Because I think there's a lot of stupid money you can get out of that. I didn't think there was, but like when you're looking over the futures, you're just like, oh,
yeah,
you just have to guess this, and I hit and I win. I'm like, hell yeah!
Oh, put together 4 NFL division winners. You turn $10 into 10 grand real quick. It's like, all right, I'll try this. No problem. It's like every day I place one NBA first basket scorer parlay. You know, I spend $1. If ever one of them hits, it's a minimum 6 figures. Like I've never had one that was under like 140,000 to win. It's like, sure, I may lose every single day, but at the end of the year, it's what, $120 by the time you're through the NBA season.
Easily.
Most people spend more than that on the lottery. It's like
I just be selectively betting overs, but I only did that a handful of times too.
I mean, NFL season was good to me. It would have been really good to me if it wasn't for the Bengals being idiots against the Chiefs. But I got really lucky. First week, I hit a really nice same game parlay for like $1,200. So I put it, I always put in $100 to start the NFL season. I hit that, pull out 800 right away, and never had to make another deposit the rest of the NFL season.
That's the life.
and I really would have been in good shape. Like I said, against the Bengals, I had a same game parlay that was going to pay me a little over $1,500 on a $10 bet. And all I was missing was the Joe Mixon touchdown. And that's when they ran quarterback sneak, then gave him the ball, and then had the penalty and was able to run the clock out. It's like, fuck. And the only other
something else too.
And then I had the bad beat to end all bad beats was the divisional round parlay. I parlayed all 4 underdogs, and I was 13 seconds away with the Bills till Leslie Frazier played the dumbest defense, and that man still owes me $400. I've never been that person to like tweet at some athlete like, "Hey, you cost me a bet," because they didn't. I made the bet. Leslie Frazier cost me that. Like, you're playing sidelines defense with 13 seconds, and they have all their timeouts. It makes no damn sense. Like, yeah, I get it. They're going for the sideline, but they have their timeouts. Let them have the sideline in 5 yards.
Yep.
They needed the 30 down the middle. You gave them, idiot.
Oh, that just reminds me of the Michigan game against Nebraska. So I got in. I went to Omaha to interview for a place, so I went across the river and placed a $30 bet. I was like, I got in at 2.5 points. They won by a field goal. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, 2.5 is one of those tricky numbers. Like, so tricky. Usually, if I'm betting if I'm going to bet a plus 2.5, I'm going to buy it up to plus 3.5. Like, get me over the field goal. Like, and just the opposite if I'm betting the favorite. Like, I'm going from minus 3.5 to minus 2.5. I'm willing to give up a little vig to get a better number.
I was expecting it to not jump a whole point like it did, but I was at the same time, I was like, I know it's going to be a close game. And then when they kicked the field goal with 7 seconds left, I was like, oh, my heart just like dropped.
The bad beats are the worst. Killing me. But yeah, then on Barstool, which to me is the most hilarious thing, giving Dave's history with sports betting and my bookie, like their free bets, you have to roll them over before you can cash out. So like I put one on a UFC fight for a guy to win by submission. He won, so I won that. But then you have to bet it again before you can cash out. So, given that he hated the rollover when it was somebody else doing it to him, it was kind of hilarious to me. But so then I picked some college basketball game I'm watching, just put it all on the game, on the underdog in the second half. So like plus 220. So I turned $100 worth of free bets into like 380 by the time it cashed out.
Damn.
Like, you could have just let me have the 140 I had after the UFC fight. No.
I guess parlaying it and having to roll it over ain't that bad.
Worked in my favor that time, but mean, what they're hoping is you can't win the 2 bets in a row.
Right.
But it worked out in my favor. I was like, all right, well, this works. I'll take my
What
money back.
garbage? What basketball game was it?
Oh, you're gonna make me log in now. Sacramento State versus who? Oh God, I honestly don't remember.
Oh, I figured you'd be like a homer and bet some sort of Indiana basketball.
Oh God, no! I refuse to bet IU basketball. The same. I will not bet IU basketball, Notre Dame football, Pittsburgh Steelers football. Those are the 3 I don't touch. I don't trust IU in any sport, and their basketball teams have been so up and down. There's no chance. Sacramento State at Idaho State.
Jesus.
This is who it was. Yeah.
Wacky Mountain West type action.
Like I was just like once I realized I had to roll it over, I was just like, all right, what's on? What's on ESPN that I can watch and what's on the app? All right. Boom, here you go. Thanks for making me play.
Tuesday when we were recording with Wayne Jetski, I was watching Nebraska play Northwestern, and Nebraska's like dead last in the Big Ten, like 1-15, and it was just like the worst basketball I've ever seen in my life. And they announced today that they're keeping Fred Hoiberg for another season.
Yeah, of course. Why
I'm
not?
just like, you're really pushing Nebraska fans to become Creighton fans. Like,
well, and it's just again, it's not like any of the Big Ten schools don't have the money right now. You know, their TV contract is ridiculous, and the rumor is the next one's going to be over $1 billion
easily.
Like, no excuse to keep bad coaches in the Big Ten in any sport at this point. Like, I get it. Fred Hoiberg was good at Iowa State for like 2 years. That was a decade ago, though. What are you counting on now?
He got pulled. He got pulled from the Bulls when we hired him. Well, I thought was wacky enough. So that's why I pledge allegiance in terms of basketball to all things Creighton and Greg McDermott.
I use 9th in the Big Ten right now. I remember when they hired Woodson, I told people that was going to be a bad hire. My friends are, no, he'll be great. He's an NBA coach. He wasn't a good one.
Right?
Like, oh, but he was a Bob Knight guy. Like, who cares? That was 20 plus years ago too. Like, you got to give up chasing the past.
And plus, Creighton's like the more exciting team.
Oh no, they've been great in college basketball for a couple decades now, pretty consistently.
Yep, and like they're trying to work out a deal where their coach Greg McDermott can be his last job, and like sign him to like a lifetime contract of sorts, sort of thing.
Makes sense.
So, also I'm stoked to be moving to Omaha so that I can go see more basketball.
Oh, is that where did you finally get something all squared away?
No, I've got a lot of it's all been interviews, tons of interviews. And like a lot of people that like me enough, but it's just like they don't like me enough to hire me yet.
Been there and done that more times than I care to deal with. It's like, yeah, you were great, but we just like this one other person more. Like, I don't. You could have told me it was 100 people at that point. Like, don't tell me it was down to me and one other person. Like, I hate that the worst.
But I'm excited because it's like I can actually be in a city where there's actually a sports team where I can actually like go and support.
Yeah, no, that's probably the one thing I missed from living in Charlotte when I lived there. It was just like I could get off work and I was 10 minutes from the Hornets Stadium, tops. You know, never went to a Panthers game, and that felt weird as a Steelers fan. But you know, at least got to see like LeBron play and can't remember who else. But back then the Hornets weren't good, so I could get tickets for like $6 in the game. Like, all right, up. Done from work. Oh, game's getting ready to start. Oh yeah, I'll take the train up there real quick.
Like instead of making an event and like having to do an overnight trip, it's just like and that's like, why do you like Creighton? Because they're not in Nebraska.
Like, is there anywhere but here?
Because they're basically Omaha-based university. Even though I didn't go to the university, still way better than the basketball right now.
Yeah. Man, I was looking at this weekend's UFC Fight Night card. It is bad.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. The only fight of any note is Makachev versus Green. Of course, Green being a last-minute fill-in is, of course, plus 550.
Because who
at this point.
was he gonna supposed to face before?
Benny, Dariush.
That's who it was. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there'll be some interesting fights on here, but there's literally nobody anybody's going to know unless you watch way too much UFC.
Because, like, especially this match is essentially a freaking rematch from earlier in Makachev's career.
Yeah.
But the card that I'm looking forward to is March 5th.
Yeah. It's not a bad card, but I don't think the main event's going to be worth anything. It's not.
I think it'll become a lot more when they get in front of the press and start mouthing off against each other.
But see, that's my problem right there. Is both of them are so fake at this point. Like, it's just, I don't care. Like, you're both playing characters. Like, you guys. I mean, Colby at least admits it. Like, so that's great. We know who you are. Like, you do it because you knew you were going to get cut. Jorge, I think, irritates me more because he tries to pretend he's not playing a character.
Right.
Like, admit you're playing the character to make the big paycheck. Nobody cares. Like, Chael Sonnen was very clear that the bad guy was a character, but it made him a lot of money and he didn't care. Like, this is a business. You got to market the fight. And that's how you do it. Like, that's fine. But don't pretend. I mean, unless again, you're the Diaz brothers who just somehow are inordinately interesting to everybody by being like treating the press like it's a waste of your time.
Easily.
And like you just don't care about anything. And it's just authentically who you are. And then that somehow works. I don't know how, because again, it doesn't work for anybody else.
And
I mean,
that's the longevity they have, I think, is how it works.
Well, yeah, I think you have some respect as some true OGs in the sport when you really get down to it. I mean, but Masvidal was too, and it didn't help him any.
Yeah.
You know, until 2019, most people would have known who he was if they walked past him in a food court.
But now he's just the cat that KO'd Ben Askren with a head kick and then got knocked out by Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, like again, a really bad look for somebody who talks about their knockout power to get. I mean, and slept hard. We're not talking a little bit. We're talking slept hard. I guess actually, I was just looking at that card. They shaped that card up pretty nicely for 272 there. I mean,
it is not that bad.
No, because you got Dos Anjos versus Rafael. I'm not trying that last name. Fiziev, and he's good. That'll be a fun one.
That's closer than I could have got it. So good. So go you.
Then you get Barbosa versus Bryce Mitchell, which will be a fun one. Barbosa is just always entertaining to watch, and he's made me a lot of money, particularly on that one delayed knockout. I still can't, like, guy's brain just waited a little bit to shut off. Like, got punched straight in the temple and just stands there and then just slowly falls down. It's like, hey, that's gonna pay me like plus 250. Let's go.
Yeah, him and Bryce Mitchell are gonna bang, and it's gonna be a good time.
The interesting one, I think, will be Holland versus Alex Oliveira, because that'll be Holland's first fight at welterweight. And Oliveira typically wants to take it to the ground, which we know Holland has struggled with but been working on. You know, we saw some good things before his last fight went no contest from that headbutt. And then the end one, it's Spivak versus Hardy, and I think we just all know everybody wants to see Greg Hardy get knocked out again.
Because we hope he gets fucking cut after this fight.
I thought he was going to after the last one, to be honest. Like, no. I mean, I guess it works, right? People tune in to watch him get knocked out. It drives ratings. I just don't know why you'd put him on a pay-per-view at this point. Like at least throw him on a fight night, so that way people would boost the ESPN numbers for you. Because if that dude deserves every bad thing that ever happens to him.
Yeah, 100%.
There is a case to be made for it happened. It's the past. Let it go, unless you do what he did. Like there's no forgiving that. Sorry, you literally choked a woman, threw her on top of a pile of guns. You're human garbage, and you don't deserve to be thought of as anything but human garbage. And it's just one of the things that drives me nuts about Dana White. Like you didn't need the ratings boost from him. You could have let somebody other organization have him, or let him stay in the minor leagues forever. He didn't need to be in the UFC.
Hell, even the prelims got some bangers.
Yeah.
Jessica I versus Mannion Furiot. Mannion will probably clean Jessica I's clock within 2 rounds, but it'll still be a good fight nonetheless. And then I'm pretty sure this is Umar. I want to say it's Khabib's not brother, but cousin.
Cousin, yeah.
Against Brian Kelleher. Brian
I
Kelleher.
can't believe Kelleher's plus 450 in that. Like I get it, it's a Nurmagomedov, but like it's not Khabib. Yeah, Jessica is going to get absolutely smoked, and hopefully it'll be her end of her run in the UFC too. Devontae Smith will be a fun one against Gonzalez. Yeah, you're right. The early prelims. Tim Elliott is on the early prelims.
Yeah. Again, I'm not going to try and pronounce his opponent's name. Tagir.
Yeah, no, not even delving into that world. So, some Russian guy.
Some Russian guy with 1 loss.
A lot of Russian guys on this card. Maybe. We'll have to see if they can get visas at this point.
Well,
the regular prelim, I would say the early prelims are better than the regular prelims. That's a
yeah. That's a very true statement.
It's odd. I mean, I guess it's a good way to make sure people turn into the early prelims, but
then gives them a nice map for the prelims.
Yeah. Here you go. Turn into Fight Pass, watch the prelims, take a nap, come back for the $75 pay-per-view. If you do that, which you should, because nobody should ever use any websites like streameast.io. Never use those. It's very bad. Make sure you don't use a VPN either. Very bad idea.
Or make sure you have a VPN on your router. Don't know what that technology consists of.
Yeah, don't do those things. Never. Those, ESPN and Dana White need your $75 because they're keeping 80% of that $75 that they take because they're not giving it to the fighters. God forbid they pay them at all.
Because there was a Wall Street Journal article about like the economics of the UFC and ESPN deal. Every single event in this new ESPN exclusive event pays out the same as starting out as like a $500,000 view old school pay-per-view.
Yeah, they're guaranteed a minimum. So even if they put on a 200,000 sale, it's like okay. And I think that was the final number for what was it, 270 with Francis and Cyril Gahn. I think that one did 200K buys.
Yep.
And they haven't said for 271 yet what the buy rate was on that.
I reckon we'll get that come next week if I were to venture a guess.
I think they're hiding it because they paid a lot of money to Israel Adesanya, and I don't think they want you to realize he doesn't move the pay-per-view needle like they pretend he does.
Right.
I think they're really afraid to admit that.
Because they were talking about how Israel kind of became comfortable as champ and almost doing the bare minimum to win fights. Now you have to knock him out in order to impress judges enough to maybe turn the tables on the scorecard.
And that happens. I mean, that happens to almost every champion at some point. You've seen it, whether it was George St. Pierre and just wrestling people down for 25 minutes, or John Jones just trying to stand at distance and point you up. Probably the only long-running champ who didn't do that was Demetrius Johnson, and nobody liked him for some reason. Like, he still went in and did flying arm bars and all this crazy stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're not entertained. We don't care.
Yeah. Hell, that 270 fight with Ngannou and Gon was electric. I thought it was like the greatest thing ever.
Watching a wrestling Francis Ngannou was interesting, to say the least.
Like,
I was surprised by the strategy.
this
It
is like
worked.
this is like Derek Lewis if he could wrestle.
And then we saw Derek Lewis wrestle at UFC 271.
Yeah.
And he actually got himself in trouble by trying to stand and bang, surprisingly. It's like, dude, what you did the first round, take him down. Like, take him and hold him down. That was
so weird.
270 was an underrated card as well. Really.
I dug it. Like I
mean, first off, Moreno and Figueiredo was just a absolute banger of a co-main 5-round. And again, you had Matt Favola on the prelims. That made me money.
I did not understand why. I don't understand how Deverson won that fight. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I had it 3-2 the other way. I thought it was
Same.
close, but I thought Moreno had edged it. On the other hand, I'm sure we'll get a fourth one out of that now, since it's 1-1-1.
I mean, that's rare air now, because no bout has gone beyond the trilogy.
No, and there's some that we should have gotten trilogies for we've never gotten, but no, never. What do you even call a fourth fight? But again, it's the rare situation, right? It's 1-1-1. You really need the fourth to break the tie.
Yeah. And allegedly Moreno switched camps, so that's what makes me even more building up more anticipation for me.
Yeah, but I don't know that he just changed camps. Like, I thought he was fine for that fight. You know, he did everything right.
I thought he could have done more, but I thought he did enough to at least keep his belt.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You can, again, though, I always try to remind myself these guys are getting punched in the face while they're trying to do more. It's not like they're doing against zero resistance. I mean, I think they tried to go a little too wrestling heavy.
Yeah.
Have him, like you got the submission win the first time, well, second time technically, because you knocked him down, not because you took him down. Like, remember what got you there. But
then when does Ultimate Fighter start?
Oh, did you see Misha Tate won Celebrity Big Brother?
Oh yeah,
$250,000 for Cupcake
like,
Tate
for like a month's worth of work.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, it's probably might rival some of her biggest paydays.
That's gotta be close to what she got paid as VP of One. That's gotta be close.
Yeah, I bet you it's more.
Because when she retired, she got offered. I think she was a VP of competition for One championship over in Asia.
Yeah, that's what she was doing. And then that's where Mansuri went too, over to One when he left Pat. Can't see anything on when Tough 30 starts though. Tough 30, that is insane to think about. Nate Diaz came in on Tough 5. Matt Serra, the comeback season, was Tough 4.
4, yep.
Man.
And what's even more nuts is Juliana Pena was on Tough 19. And here she is as a coach.
Oh, it's gonna be an interesting season. Like, obviously it's not the two they were planning on having do it. And right. I don't like the UFC is perplexing me with some of the decisions they're making impulsively at the moment right now. Like, I get that you needed a headliner for UFC 272, but you had other options. You could have left. Now, I think that would have been worth the price of admission to keep it as Colby and Jorge for the coaches of Tough. That would have been worth it.
I think that was the original plan. If I were to venture a guess,
It was. It absolutely was. But I don't think it was worth breaking it up for 272. Like that literally came down to the fact that Dana White is not letting Nate Diaz fight his last fight on his contract if it's not Conor McGregor trilogy. Because you could have put Nate Poirier on that headliner and it would have sold as many as it will with Colby and Jorge, and then you would have had had a better revenue out of Tough season 30 with Colby and Jorge than you will out of Amanda and Juliana Pena. So I really think that just came down to Dana White trying to protect the Conor McGregor Nate Diaz trilogy.
I also think, like, the only question I have for this Jorge Covington fight is the BMF title just irrelevant now?
Yeah, no, that's not a thing. When Dana admitted it was a one-off when he did it, so it was never going to be a thing.
Because I mean,
it was literally something.
It would have added stakes to it, and it would have made it somewhat more interesting.
I don't think that. Ultimately, I think Jorge is going to get 5 rounds of what he did the first fight against Kamara against Colby. I think Colby is so. I don't like Colby Covington as a personality.
Nope,
but like as a fighter, he is so skilled.
I'll be right back. I gotta piss.
No problem.
I apologize.
Yeah. Well, again, 37 minutes in, ain't nobody watched this live yet, so I can always edit dead air out on the audio. But Colby, and nobody's watching. I don't need to talk. I said I'll edit the dead air out. I just created an audio spike so I can edit the audio out. Like I said, ain't nobody watching now, so that'll be easy enough. But yeah, I mean, his skill level.
It's better than editing out stupid stuff that you say, like I did.
Well, or like obviously you had to edit out a name on the most recent episode there at the end.
Usually, I just clean them out and cut it out completely and make it an afterthought, but wanted to figure out how to do a beep, so I figured it was appropriate time to add there.
No, it was a great episode. It's I always like listening to the behind the scenes Barstool guys who become kind of their own personality on top of it, because I think it's such an interesting story on how that works. Like, I think too many people, like, I'm not a huge Barstool guy at all. Like, you can't not pay attention to him though, because it's so big in the internet media space. But like, I think there's so many misnotions about what Barstool is and how it works. Like you like, if you can't respect Dave as a businessman, you're insane. He's literally started a news flyer in Boston and turned it into a 9-figure company. Like, that's just business 101. Like, in the notion of some of the other notions, like he's got so many people, their big break. Like, sure, he makes profit off of it. That's what business is. He's taking a risk on a lot of these people. And the perfect example, again, is Call Her Daddy. Like, they felt so, well, we outperformed. Well, and he's overpaying you what your contract called for. But if you would have flopped completely and done 0, he was still going to pay you what the contract called for. Like, that's how it works.
Exactly.
They're not NFL contracts. They don't just void instantly. Everybody has their.
It's not like you're getting a per game per diem or anything like that.
No, but I mean, again, I always love listening to those guys who, I'm just trying to think. There was the blog writer who basically started as just fan submission blog writer till he got full time. I can't think of his name right now, but you hear him all the time out of Barstool. These guys who were, these people who were loosely related to it, or, completely behind the scenes and blow up and turn a nice career out of it. So it's always fun to hear that stuff, and sometimes you got to protect those people when they say something on the podcast that they don't mean. And it's funny when people try to bury people on that. It's like, at the end of the day, if you're doing an hour of audio a week, and for a personality who then goes on and does other podcasts multiple hours per week, eventually you're going to make a missteps. Hopefully somebody's there to just say, hey, yeah, nope, we'll clean that up for you. No worries. Nobody needs to know.
And
so
I can't wait to reach that level. So someday, hopefully.
Well, hopefully you get some good stuff together and send it to him, and then there you go. Because I didn't know you'd done music producing stuff before. Like, I knew you'd done all the podcast stuff, but never knew you did music stuff. What kind of music?
How I got Logic certified and got, I want to say 2009. Yeah. And so with that, I was able to sell a local rapper from Colorado who went to school here for football into being his engineer for a couple of years. And with that, of course, collabs would come. And with that would be more work of, hey, I got to get this radio ready. Can you edit the expletives out of the song so we can get it radio ready? And just started from there. From there, I went on to producing a bunch of bands locally around here. Like the house that I used to live in, like we turned it into a pretty big recording studio where I'd have drums on the top floor, guitar out in the garage, vocalist was down near me, and we would record full-length albums. And then the last iMac I had crashed shortly after a recording session, and then I did a death metal band with my MacBook Air, which that gave it a nice little workout. And then from there, those were demo sessions that got turned into an album. And then from there, that's around the time when I helped Tyreek Hill take over a camera, and then I got asked to do podcast stuff, and I was like, I mean, I listened to a fair amount of them. I never really put one together, but I was just like, fuck it, let's fuck around and find out,
Yeah, I mean, and like for me, my stuff with podcasting started. There's an old episode of Ari Shafir Skeptic Tank with him and I'm drawing a blank, and I shouldn't be. He's absolutely hilarious. The really big comic who passed away a couple years ago.
Oh, I should know this because it's like I listen to enough comedy stuff.
Oh, I absolutely devour comedy stuff. This is embarrassing. But anyways, on there, he basically broke down, here's the equipment I use, here's the editing stuff I use, here's how I put these episodes out. And this is in 2012, 2013, maybe 2013. I don't remember anymore. But then I was like, okay. So I went out and bought all that stuff, and away I went. I mean, it's surprisingly, podcast, depending on how you want to do it, can be very easy or very hard. Like, you can just rip the audio completely, just fix the levels, turn up the audio, turn up the volume a little bit, and off you go.
And a lot of it, like, especially since we were all remote, or at least a lot of my podcasts were, like, there was a couple that I would shut it in the garage, but a lot of them were remote. And so, like, you had to figure out if I can get everyone into a room and there's like zero latency between us, it should turn out to be a halfway decent product.
Yeah, well, that was, I think that's been the big equalizer over the last couple of years with everybody being forced remote. Like it's changed the game now, where I think almost people don't even anticipate you being in the room with your guests anymore. When that used to be just the absolute expectation was that you were in the same place at the same time as the person you were interviewing. And I just found it. It's Ralphie May. That's who I was thinking of. Like, I'm absolutely embarrassed that I didn't think of that one. And then, of course, in true hilarious in the internet being undefeated, I just type in large comedians. You get the standard John Kennedy, John Candy, John Belushi, Rodney Dangerfield, Ralphie May, and then Amy Schumer. It's like the internet's undefeated, constantly undefeated. Like, all right, fair enough. Not where I would have went with that, but hey, it's funny.
I've just logged into my old SoundCloud and I'm like, I totally forgot about all this because I was like, let's see if I don't want to rip off somebody's ears.
Yeah, you know what it is. Blue and yellow.
Like I put, like that one I put together, and it's like because our university here is blue and gold.
Yeah.
And the rapper was on the football team, so we put together a, blue and gold. I call it blue and yellow, and as a play on the black and yellow. So I was like, yeah, cool.
Yep.
And then he goes, because like he comes up to me, he's like, okay, I put together this song and I think it's very good. And I was like, okay, yes, it's very good. And I'm like, what do you think it needs? I was like, you need some thump, bud.
Yeah.
So we had a compression do it, and the next day it got played on the radio. So it's kind of like a surreal moment.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's what you're doing it for, right? I mean, granted, in this day and age with Spotify and SoundCloud, there's a lot of ways to make money without having to be, traditionally on the radio. But still, I think anytime you're making something content, when it can get onto what's considered a mainstream format, still, I feel like that's just a little bit of a validation for the work you do, right?
That was like the first surreal moments in a line of surreal moments, because I was like, if I can get radio play as like never have I ever had a product that, my eyeballs have been on this session. I've looked over it tons of times and it's never been played on the radio. And I've had probably 6 or 7 songs played at least on the radio that I know of.
Nice. That's a decent accomplishment. More than most people will ever accomplish in their life. I know I'll never have a song on the radio. I can't produce like that, and I sure can't sing, so I'm out.
And then just getting to meet the people that I've met podcasting too. That's another series of surreal moments.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing how small the world gets. It seems like you get more detached on the internet, but I think it's just a matter of how much you want to communicate with people and how willing you are to meet people, and take that chance. To be honest, obviously I've only met a few of the Anomolies folks so far, but again, like me and Marco were hanging out a few weeks ago down in India, and we're just looking at each other like drinking it in Todd McComas's kitchen at 4 a.m. in the morning. Like, this is a stupid life that we live, right? Like, if you somehow don't know, Todd McComas worked for Pat McAfee in the early days, did an awesome show, Heartland Radio, when they were on Barstool Radio, and then Heartland Radio 2.0. And then now has his own true crime podcast and did probably 18 other podcasts in between there. But now he's got another new one getting ready to start out. Finally went back to working for somebody. But like, you start out a big fan of this person and you just chat with them over the internet. And then one day you're drinking in their kitchen at 4 a.m. Like, the world's just cool like that, So
Like I never thought like $20 chef would be another one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. No, he's a fun time to hang out with. But I mean, both of them are great.
That's a life
But-
goal. But
Like Sean, I got. I mean, obviously there was the Guns Blazing cookout that I went to last summer at Todd's house with him and Sean there. But then there's one night after I went to stand up show of Sean's in Fort Wayne, and he was only supposed to do the early show. But so then we were hanging out drinking, and then they're like, "Hey, you want to do a little spot on the second show?" So we hang out and drink some more and just had a blast. And now he's doing his own podcast. This is really good. Like, it's been a fun trip so far with that one. The Big Homie podcast or whatever. That's what he's calling it. Yeah, yeah. Because he was deciding between that and the $20 chef for the podcast. I think he decided he wanted to keep the $20 chef really just the cooking stuff.
as he should.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having two brands. Like, trust me, there's plenty of people who do in this day and age.
Especially if you haven't seen the album art, I want that fucking suit. I really do.
You know what? No, if there's any comedian suit I want, it's I want one of Chris Bauer's ones.
Oh,
I want one of those sparkly
sparkles.
Like he said, it's definitely a conversation starter wherever you go.
He's apparently got an unhealthy obsession with sparkles, I think.
I don't know.
I've been told.
He's another fun guy to hang out with, though. That's for sure. Like, and I've got to hang out, party with Bert Kreischer at Morty's before when he came through there. That was pretty outrageous.
I really want to go see him.
Oh, it's worth it.
I really do. Like,
I don't know what the stadium or the theater experience is like with him, though. I haven't seen that yet.
The closest place he's coming to me is Red Rocks, so I'd go out there.
I haven't even looked yet where he's coming around here. He usually either hits Indy or Chicago, so it's usually 90 minutes to 2 hours from where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, stand up I could go watch every weekend if it was close. Like when I was in Charlotte, that was great because they had a great club. So like Steve Renazizi came through there. Tom Segura, when he was still doing comedy clubs, came through. A few others. I can't, gets to be one of those, you've done so many after a while. It's just like, okay. Yep. I can't even remember them all anymore.
Now, if Marco could get to that point.
He's got to get up on stage first.
Right?
Like you've had 2 extra years to prepare now. Like it should be an even better first 5 minutes.
It's like, it's not hard. Like, even if you do suck, it's not very long.
Now, depending on where you go, it's 3 or 5 minutes max.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's gonna be over before you know it. Like I couldn't do it. I'm not. I am a dry sense of humor person, and you have to have your own audience almost for that. And an open mic is like, if you listen just to any of the comedian podcasts, they'll tell you open mics just turn into playing to the back of the room because almost everybody there is a comedian. So you're not working on stuff that you would normally take on a stage in front of a regular crowd, because comedians don't want to hear that.
I mean, I just tried to work a story, and then I saw a dude literally take a knee. It was around the time where Kaepernick was taking his knees. And I literally was like, everybody pull Kaepernick, take a knee, and then that's how I got to start.
And now the crowd's on your side, or at least get your sense of humor. Yeah. I'm running out of sports stuff to talk about. I mean,
we can go into the Manila Daytona 500, but
we haven't even talked about that. You're right. I almost got off like I was telling Tanner online. I'm such an Earnhardt guy. I don't watch as much as I used to, just because there's no Earnhardts in the field. But the Daytona 500 is still the 500, so you watch. Again, you're in, you're out, because I don't like stage racing, particularly at the plate tracks. Like, there's no reason to throw cautions at tracks where literally one turn of the wrist can take out 20 cars, like it did, basically. Actually, a third of the way into the race? It wasn't that far,
right?
And it's just
like, I just don't. I'm with you. I don't get stage racing at all, and it's supposed to. When NASCAR did it, it's supposed to simulate like regular ass sports fans and the whole 4 quarters / taking breaks aspect of it. And I think it's just taking a lot of strategy out of it.
Way to sell more ad revenue. Basically, that was it. Here, we're going to guarantee some cautions. And it's kind of funny because it's kind of the antithesis of what most younger sports fans want to see. They want to see continuous action. That's why soccer is so popular and it's growing exponentially in the United States, is because you're done in 2 hours in a soccer match.
And they
You know.
don't take commercial breaks in there either.
No, if nothing else, and in racing, they've done it for years. Go side by side. Have the
Yep.
race and an ad right next to it. You'll be fine. Keep it going. And again, just the length of the races. Like, we started at 3 and didn't end until after 8. Like, that's just. I'm 41 years old and that's too long. Like, no. Like, wrap it up, B. I got stuff to do today. Need a little box from the Chappelle Show skit. Wrap it up. Like,
Also-
no. Like,
What did
again, like I said, some races should be special. The Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola 600. But I don't need to see 500 miles at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Or Pocono.
Oh, well, luckily they cut that to 400. And that should still probably be, like I said, 300 is a really good number. It's going to get you down to that 3-hour time window on some of them, under that for some of the others. It's gonna match what the modern consumer wants. Like, yeah, you may technically have less time to sell ads, but you're going to get more dollars per ad. And you're going to have more eyes on the sport when people can watch start to finish, instead of, all right, I'll watch the first 20 laps, go take a nap, and wake up for the last 20. I don't need to see any of that mess in the middle.
Also, what do you think of the new car?
So far, I think it's all right. Like, you can't tell a lot on a restrictor plate on how it's going to race yet, because obviously everybody's going to be bunched up there. It's got to fix the wheel. We got to find a way to make sure those get put on right and easier. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about a rookie winning the Daytona 500. Like, I feel like it doesn't. It sets an unrealistic expectation for that kid now.
Yeah.
Like, Austin Cindric's a good driver. Don't get me wrong. Like, he was talented in the Busch Series, but when you win the Daytona 500, we've seen it with other guys like Trevor Bayne. It just sets the bar so much higher that it doesn't give you time to develop as a driver. Now, I think driving for Roger Penske will help some, but I mean, Trevor Bayne was with Roush, and unfortunately caught years where Roush was just wasn't that good as a team, to be honest.
Nope.
And it's pretty much ended. I mean, he's going to drive a few part-time races this year for Joe Gibbs, so he may get another chance yet. But you've seen it too many times. The young guys have too much success too quick. The bar gets raised too high, and then their career washes out because of it. I mean, another example was Casey Atwood. He won a bunch of those Busch races early, gets into a Ray Evernham ride in Evernham's first year, and was wildly inconsistent because they were still developing the car, and then gets pushed to second-tier equipment for the next year, and then after that, he's out of Cup altogether. And I don't even think he raced in a Busch race after that, to be honest. I think he went back home and ran late models and called it a day. But so I hope that doesn't happen to Cindric again. I think he's a good enough road course racer that won't necessarily happen with the way they're putting more road courses on the schedule,
Which
so I
I
think,
do dig. I like that a lot.
So I obviously prefer the oval, but if you're going to do road courses, it needed to be like 6, not 2. Like, I always felt like 2 was just forcing it, and you're not giving the guys enough time to get good at it, or B, enough incentive to get good at it. Like, you could be bad at the 2 road courses, and even in the old full season point standings, you could be bad at those 2 races and win a championship. So they were kind of just irrelevant. But now, when they've added all the different tracks and even the Roval kind of modified Rovals, that you have to be able to race on a road course to compete for a championship now. It's just not an option. You can't do that. Well, I guess you could fluke your way into it still, but you're because the whole championship is fluky enough now.
Especially I'm still trying to wrap my brain around how they structure the points.
Yeah. Oh, well, now they're giving out points for the Daytona duels and qualifying. If you get the pole, get you point. All these nonsense. Like, I get it. You had one bad year of the championship. What is that? 2003,
Where
where Matt Kenseth ran away with it.
Matt
And
Kenseth won the title but didn't win a race that year.
I thought he still won 2. Gonna make me look real quick.
I'm pretty sure that was the conundrum that brought along the chase.
I think the problem was they thought he was boring more than anything. Oh, he had 1 win. That was it. He had 1 win, but he top 5'd his way to the championship, which, yeah, had always been a thing anybody could have done, but you traditionally had not seen it. So you've seen it once and you overreact to go to a 10 race playoff, which now made most of your races meaningless. And then after that, you go to this 3-3-3-1 playoff, which really made it meaningless. Like, I view NASCAR as golf now. How did you do in the majors? Did you win Daytona 500s? Did you win Coke 600s? Southern 500s? Okay.
I'd like the chase, like when it was the 10 race format, because that's what drew me in, was seeing in 2004 Kurt Busch lose a wheel right before pit entrance and diving into the pit road before the caution came out. And that won him a championship.
2004 was such, again, being an Earnhardt season, that was such a fluky one because to me, like, Junior gets fined the 25 points at Talladega for literally nothing. I'm sorry.
No.
That was such an overreaction to the Janet Jackson thing. And then because of that, he races harder at Atlanta, ends up wrecking himself. And that's why he ends up out of the points. And then, of course, the problem with the 10 race chase became Jimmy Johnson learned how to game that system. You know, it's part of why I'll never view his 7 championships the same as Earnhardt's or Petty's. Although Petty's are different too, because back then you could run 40 out of the 60 races and win the championship because they'd run 3 times a week. It's like, I get it, but it's a different world back then too.
I just wish with all the road courses that they go to now, like the Charlotte Oval, they go to Sonoma, and like they go to Watkins Glen, but like I don't see the need, like, to have the 500 be the oval race and have what used to be the 4th of July race, which now is the middle of August, have that be the Daytona road course race, because I think that'd be electric to see these cars go on the road course.
I think they should get 3 races at Daytona. I think like, first off, modern sports, I think you could move the 4th of July race back to being on the 4th of July every year for Daytona instead of having it be 4th of July weekend.
That was electric.
And run it under the lights on the oval. And then the next week, you could do the road course while you're there. Save the guys a lot of transportation or trips if you want. Or save the Daytona road course for the chase. And now you could have 2 road courses in the chase. Maybe not don't make it a championship race, but
I see why Charlotte's Roval gets in the chase, but why? Why just that one? It's like, come on.
It'd be nice to see a second one in there. Do one in the round of 16 and one in the round of 8. But
it just doesn't make sense to me. But because one of my bucket list things is, they have the 24 hours at Daytona for the Rolex series.
Yeah,
just to go buy a camp, go rent camp, or go into that infield and just party.
I'd love
24 hours.
I'd love to do a whole speed weeks, like the 2400, the shoot. Well, if they bring the shootout back to Daytona, the shootout, the duels, qualifying, the race itself. Like, let's do it all. Go down there for 10 days. Take it all in. Do the Busch race, the truck race, the ARCA race. It's a whole week of drunken racing.
That just is so fun.
It would be a blast. That is for sure. That's got to be on the list. I've seen some pretty far baseball stadiums. I haven't, and Charlotte definitely needed to go to the Roval for the fall race. I had gone to that fall race probably 4 or 5 times. I went to the last one before they switched to the Roval, and it was just empty. It was a completely empty place. It was an awful experience. Like, no.
That's sad for a Bruton Smith owned track.
The problem was you'd had 3 races a year there at that time because you had the 600, you had the All-Star race, and then you had
But apparently
fall
everyone
race.
was spent for the fall race. They were like, oh, fuck this.
Well, and just like every other track, they overbuilt during the boom time of NASCAR.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying, "Hey, let's get extra revenue from the tickets by being able to raise the price," they built more stands, which worked. But then when things leveled out and started to ebb back, then you didn't have that ability to scale back, and the ticket prices never went down to try and fill the stands. The answer was just, yeah, we'll tear down the stands now and still be half empty, and then we'll have to figure it out. But I mean, I think they just overbuilt the cookie cutter mile and a halves too. Charlotte suffered from that.
Yeah, like that's another thing that I think plays into this whole NASCAR not being captivated, because that's what made the Clash good. It was a half mile on a fucking football field. It's not like a 1.5 mile tri-oval or a 2 mile ridiculously looking oval.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish they would do it, or rotate it around. Of course, I think that would be the big key. And they're at Auto Club this weekend, right? Or yeah,
Yep, Auto Club in Vegas.
and Auto Club's the half mile now, right? Did they finish the redo on that?
Well, that's a good question, because I've always known it as the 2 miler.
Right, but they were tearing it down and converting it to a half mile track. I just don't know if they've got it done. Yep. According to this, it was supposed to be done for 2022's spring race.
So we'll see it. It'll be something to at least watch.
Yep. And again, now like you don't have any idea what it's going to be like. Now, this is where the new car is supposed to shine: short tracks and road courses. So hopefully, really on something that allows you a full field like a half mile instead of having to run heat races. We get to see some racing there. But again, I'm kind of glad they got rid of the 2 mile configuration. Like it was a duplicate of Michigan already. And Michigan had 2 races, then California had 2 races for a while there. So you had 4 races at the exact same track, basically.
And I think an issue we're going to run into with the new car is, especially since we got like more F1 style type of stops with that hub.
Yeah.
Like gas is going to become a premium.
Oh, for sure.
Because you're gonna be waiting on gas can. You're gonna waiting on your gas man a lot.
Well, I think that's why they went with one less guy over the wall though, to make the tire changes slower. And I almost think that was the wrong way to go. I was like, how about you go the other way? Let them jack up both sides at one time, change all 4 tires, and just wait on the gas guy. Like, here you go. Whoop, down, go. You'll never have anything like F1 or Indy where the jack's built into the pit box and just lifts the car right up. But could have had 2 jack guys going up, off, go. So I mean, it'll again, that'll be something to see out throughout the season, though, is how that pit stop works, where you have these different guys, and then only one, because again, you only have 1 tire carrier over the wall now, so you don't have a front and rear. So it's meant to slow the stop down. So, and again, that was done hoping that it would save money for some of these teams. I don't know, and yet they're struggling with the way the hub lines up, because apparently there's some things in the rim where you have to line up on the hub to get it to lock in right. And that was the problem at Daytona, is 2 of them didn't go on right. So it's not just like before where you just line up the lugs, slap it on, and go.
Right.
And
Where it's all pressed in there and you just have to literally just get it in there and just fire it up and go.
And I think Dale Jr. even talked about it, that it possibly having the unintended effect of actually making Cup pit crews more expensive, because before the guys on the Cup crew could pit the Cup car, Busch Series car, and then a truck all in the same weekend if they're at the same track. Whereas
Right.
now, because of the single lug to the 5 lug, they're not going to have them flip flop like that. So you're going to have a separate pit crew for the Busch, and your Cup guys are only going to be Cup guys. So that's going to be it for them. They're going to have to be paid more now to make up for the money they can't make by moonlighting in the other 2 series. So it's like, sure, it sounds like it's going to save money because you're going to have less people, but now you're going to have more expense because now each guy's going to need to be paid more because they're not going to be able to. So it's, this year will be similar to when the COT debuted, and even more so because there's more things different with this than the COT. The COT, they just essentially made the car wider, added foam to it, and that ugly wing on it, which actually made it look more stock at the time, but it just didn't work for stock car racing at all. Like, it was just awful.
It was terrible.
But I mean, like, the chassis and the engine and the drivetrain was all the same, whereas this is so different, And the transmissions are different. The entire drivetrain is essentially different, Other than
I also like that, this car, there ain't much, jettisoning with 2 team tandems anymore. That was kind of the thing that drove me nuts for a while with NASCAR, is like, especially after the car tomorrow would come out, and like after the Talladega repave, you could like get a 2-car tandem and almost approach Bill Elliott's record for speed there.
I mean, the only thing that stopped those guys from running longer tandems was cars overheating.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, all you got to think back to is the race where, I know Jimmy Johnson technically won, but Dale Jr. won that race for him.
Because he shoved the whole fucking way.
Even as he's getting loose down there, as he's going 4 wide, 4 tandems wide, he's just still weighing into him, just like, all right, we're going. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, you're going to win or you're going to finish sideways. Take your pick. So keep it straight. Yeah, no, tandem, and you saw it from Brad Keselowski. Like, if you even just bump them wrong, these cars get upset enough that you're not going to be able to tandem like that. So that was good to see. It seemed strange though that the bump drafting was working better in the corners than on the straightaway. Like, that was strange, and that's part of, I think, where Brad Keselowski was struggling, because any of those guys who've done it for a while are used to the opposite.
Where you get shoved into the corner and then they let off. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was unique. But it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, I think this week we'll learn more than we did last week about the car, to be honest.
100%.
Well, I think I'm pretty much out of stuff. I think, like I said, it was kind of a dead week in sports, but we still filled more than an hour. So thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
You can see right there at Tyler Allen on Twitter. Like I said, the Anomalies podcast. Anything else you want to plug while you're on here?
Go listen to Jet Ski's episode, because we have a song that he graciously gave us that's not going to be put out for 2 weeks. That closes the show.
Yes, that was it. And again, it is a good song. Trust me, you're gonna want to be ahead of the curve on this one. So be a friend, tell a friend,
because we're the only spot that has it, at least for the next couple of weeks, until he gets it up there.
Yep. And that way, when it comes out, you can help it blow up. And then also, you can find me on Twitter at SportsGuyJason. Like I said, probably have an Instagram out there that I never use. I have a TikTok that I literally post nothing on. And again, be a friend, tell a friend about this show. We're new, we're growing. Like I said, I have some ideas on things I might want to do differently going forward that'll work well for both this, for the podcast audio version, and for YouTube content. But until next week, peace out.